people watching it.
I bet so too. All right, let's do this. We're going live here. Strike time. Excellent. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're doing a live stream of Destiny 2, talking about education and learning with a few students. Talk a little bit myself about what I think, and then ultimately have a little bit of fun with this beta because I'm excited to play the full game in September. And both of your ships. Oh, Jaren, you got that weird jelly bead melted ship too, man. It looks like 3 blue jelly beans that melted in the back of a hot Volkswagen in the 70s. This looks bad.
The Warlocks get those ships.
Oh, are there specific ships for each class?
Yes.
I assume in the beta, yeah. I doubt like in the actual game.
But yeah, you'll get like other ships later on.
Analyzing radio chatter.
So my Destiny isn't loading, so I'm kind of out of the loop here, but that's all good. I'll play GTA with you guys.
That's okay. I mean,
even their scientists are fools.
You've been playing games and learning and doing stuff for a long time, you know. Just Destiny 2 is a little foreign. So, I don't know, to kick things off, you know, my first question is pretty basic. I just want to know what your thoughts are about the role that video games play or could play in education, whether you're a freshman in high school or whether you're a freshman in college. I mean, what do you guys think?
Well, I'll go first because I like to talk. This is Northern Tribe. Being in Canada, there's not a lot of times where classrooms get to have any video game experience whatsoever. In fact, the only time I remember doing anything with video games was like in grade 1, and it was like a little video game that we'd go to the computer classroom, and it was about light and like how it reflects off surfaces and stuff. It was a fun game, but like that's all we've ever done. And other than that, we haven't had much video games within classrooms. Even now in university, I'm at the U of A. There are no video games whatsoever, but I think video games could have like a real role to play. Like I know for a fact I've learned things from some video games. I have like a great sense of direction and map knowledge, and I think I gained that from playing games like GTA, where you have to learn like landscape and like, features in the rocks and all that, you know? Or
there's a lot more to learn than running people over, right?
Yeah, there's a lot more to learn. Like how to get to a certain location, like which route's the fastest. I mean, it's obviously not any mathematics skills or anything, but it's something to be learned. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I appreciate that. What do you guys think?
Is it weird I look at that light and I think,
That's
wow, that is one big
being
ghost.
a past student of Mr. Hobbies, as a freshman, having that experience of having video games in the classroom, I think
Hey, failsafe,
to the right,
all cozy in your data core.
to the right
Any
people,
advice on an energy shield?
there is a lot more to video games than meets the eye, and
Well,
like
I could have. Okay, we'll shoot.
that one. I've only had like one really like experience of video games in class, and that was when I was a student. It was
Okay.
a harvest class.
But never before that, right?
No, never.
Jeez.
Never before that. And that was I had never even like seen any type of console in the classroom. Like, nothing. And to see how it got presented to me in the classroom showed me like there is like a lot of things that games can teach you. Like they can teach you, many games can teach you team-based, like how to work as a team. Examples like Rainbow Six Siege, like that will teach you to like to work as a team and to like communicate.
So like a game about learning doesn't actually, you wouldn't want that, right? I mean, a game has learning in it. You don't want like what are you trying to say?
Yeah, like it has. Many games have potential of like learning capabilities. I'm sure not all have that potential,
Okay, yeah.
but definitely video games.
I think
have.
also games by nature, this is Northern Tribe speaking again. I think games by nature is an extension of play, and humans as children, I know this for a fact, we learn by playing.
Yeah.
So, games is just another form of turning information into like something that the brain can process, you know?
Oh, okay. I like that. So it's a vehicle for learning, essentially. You know, get in and go. Where are we going? Well, I'm not sure. I'm dead though. No! Oh, I didn't know where I'm gonna use my super.
Wait, where are you?
I'm in the bottom of the Grand Canyon of the Vex milk machine. Dang it!
I can't get to you.
It's
Too
okay.
far.
Let me die in peace. Elijah.
I'll visit your grave.
I'm live.
But yeah, like I like the word you use. It's a vehicle for information.
You just gotta get the vehicles in place.
Yeah, like what's that gas to you?
That's actually like the
What
gas.
makes you want to play the games? You know, what makes you go?
What's
What
the
makes you
gas?
drive that? You know,
Oh.
what is it? Like, what is the gas that makes these video games the vehicle they are for what you want? I mean, is it what? Why? Why do you? What?
I think it's the story. For me, I've always been like,
Yeah, like
I've
like
always
just, like,
loved a good narrative. And when I see a good game, when I see something like that really grabs like my
Nice,
mind, you know, just something with a cool story, something that is interesting.
Yeah.
That's the gas. I think that's what makes it go. Once I'm into the story, I think I can learn. And if video games were to be used in a way to teach,
Mhm.
I think they would have to have the same kind of composition as video games have now. They'd have to have something to keep the players hooked in. They'd have to
Right.
have, you know, a story. It can't be like those brain games that you see advertised on TV. They would have to if you want people to actually like go to the store, buy a video game to actually teach them something, it's gonna have to be a lot more than teaching. I mean,
Right.
we've all been to school forever, and there's nothing wrong with that. School's great. Having a good education, that's obviously quite important, but like people get tired of that, and there's no way you're gonna get someone who just got off 8 hours of lectures to play another learning brain game kind of thing.
Right.
I'm not doing that with my spare time. I have papers to write and stuff. If you're gonna get me to play a video game that involves learning, it's gonna have some kind of release. It's gonna have to have some kind of story, something to keep me,
Why didn't that happen to the Red Legion?
you know,
Yeah,
engaged.
Red Legion similarities.
Maybe that's my
I-
ADHD talking, I don't know, but that's how I feel. Like I have to keep something stimulative going on. Or else,
Okay.
yeah.
I definitely, yeah, I'm sure you can relate that to like
You
a
are both
book. It's like I'm sure,
depressing and
like I know all those a story to it, a narrative. All games do, but it's just more stand out than others.
Right.
And I think like I would say that too. Like for me, the gas of the game is the story. It's like I've always been into like a good story.
A little
And if
narrative.
it wasn't for the story, yeah, a little narrative. Like, and if narrative is there, it's just not popping out as much as I would like to. But then my second option would be the game. How do I feel like the game? Do I feel like it's worth my time putting all this effort into it?
Okay,
Yeah,
so think about this. Like, is it worth your educator's time to use like video games in the classroom, like biology? I mean, BioShock, or we playing Assassin's Creed in history? I mean, what role do video games play in the classroom? I mean, can you guys speak to that?
Okay.
I mean, like, what good would this game right now be in class? We're playing Destiny. I'm getting destroyed right now. I mean, how would kids learn if they were playing a game like this? Like, what's the role of all of this?
Well, the games today have no role in the classroom.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like modern like games today. I
there's
would
nothing
say
I
like
could learn from the video games out right now. That
Okay.
would be, you know, essential to
Like informative?
a learning environment.
What about, like, what does it mean, though, to learn when you're working with a team or having to critically think? Like, you may not learn specific things like how to balance a chemistry problem, but what can you learn, and what is the role of, like, a video game in a classroom? Like, what... think about this. Like, you go to Boy Scouts, per se. You don't go to, like, when you say, what do you learn? Well, they give you a merit badge, you know, but that essentially means they've learned something. So when you play a video game, you know, and you get these little awards and you get these things, like, does that essentially mean you've learned or earned something?
I mean,
I think that
Trophies?
something
Okay.
and like put the time and effort to get that thing, but it really depends on like what that thing is. I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would disagree. I think there's a lot of learning in the games that you play. They're just not about cross-dividing multiplication stuff. And like right now, I'm learning to be a little patient with you all right here. I'm trying to... Oh my god, that wheel's gonna crush me. Jaren the Wild over there is just so fast.
Well, video games are good for team building then, for sure.
I would say video games are good for something.
I feel like the games hide the learning
honestly,
within the
I
game.
can't. I can't
Yeah, that's what I think, Franklin.
I could see that, yeah.
Now that, like,
You just have to dig
anything
deep
video games have
to find the learning.
You know,
I could totally see that.
it's called embedded learning, and that's the thing, is like, I think a lot of people don't get that, is you wouldn't, like, the game tests you and it helps you build critical thinking skills. Some games, not all games, like you said, but some games do it better than others, you know. And some games it's harder to know, like the Frag Clan said, whether you're learning or not, because you're really just having fun. And that's what I think Northern stated earlier, is like, that's just what we do. We play, you know. It's easy to be tricked into thinking we're learning or playing. That's usually what teachers do. Generally, the act of having fun or the experience of playing the game generates some type of discussion, and from that discussion, we learn something from talking to people. I think that's why I say the video game is kind of a vehicle for learning, because we don't really know where it's going to take us every time we get in. You know, we know what level we're playing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're learning anything. Just because we read a chapter of let's say we read a chapter of Huck Finn. There's no end of summary. Hey, when you read chapter 34, you should learn these 3 things about life. Like, you're just supposed to just experience it and move on, right? But when you say you've read Huck Finn, you're like, oh yeah, I've learned some things about life. And you're like, what? You're like, oh, I don't know, it's different to everybody. It's the same way with like a video game, I think.
I agree with that.
But I don't know what you think. Yeah, you know, think about this too. Like, what about AR? What about VR? What are the roles that those new technologies might play in classrooms and learning for you all?
I feel like AR could definitely play a big role, considering like
I like this question.
it's like how it's literally right in front of you, like you're looking straight at it, but it's not there.
Right.
Like I feel like in many professionals that can be used as an example of what you're going into. Guess you could say,
For
like,
sure.
I can't really think of like an example of like probably like architecture, like building and all that. You could probably use AR as like example of like, alright, like let's say we're building a building like this.
Okay.
Down building, looking down, we all like, have different parts to build that building, and like, basically, like,
owning a VR for myself, I know for a fact it will be something used in the future for teaching.
Why is that?
Well, there are visual learners. There are what are they called?
Kinesthetic
Type of
learners.
learners that kinesthetic memory, exactly. Those kind of people. There's different types of people, right?
Yeah.
When you're
theory.
using a VR, I think it loses those with the visual type of learning capabilities. For example, there's only some things that some people can learn after seeing it.
Okay.
Actually seeing it. For example, let's talk about biology, like fertilization of an egg, for example. If you could get a VR game where like either like you're the sperm or something like that, or like even just watching how the sperm actually like, or even it doesn't even have to be real. It just some kind of visual representation in like a 3D manner.
Okay.
I think that could have huge potential.
So you think when it's easier to kind of understand and see, or like be close to, that it might be easier to understand?
Experience it, yeah.
Okay. I always had a hard time with that.
Like, all the virtual reality stuff can play like a big role with like visual learners.
Yeah, like what about people learning to like become doctors? Do you think it's more cost effective maybe to like have dead bodies to work on? I know you need to actually work on the dead body at some point to get the real feel, but wouldn't it be nice if you could really like visually with VR or even augmented reality work on that?
Yeah, that would definitely like I feel like the doctor should like do that first, then work on the dead body, so that not only do they have like the past experience, like alright, I know what I'm kind of getting myself into, but I'm doing this.
Right.
Virtual reality, like you actually feel like you're doing
I can
that.
see that.
And I'm sure that's coming, but that even like relates to the 5th grader now who's then dissecting the frog, right? So like, what role does VR play in the way that we train doctors? It starts when they're in 5th grade, when they're dissecting the frog leg, right? When they use a VR before they got that scalpel and they cut that slimy, thick leg and they felt that incision. They got to learn a little bit more about the anatomy of the frog without having to also compound it with learning how to cut open an animal and stuff. You know, I think there's a lot more scaffolded learning by going step by step. Like,
I could see
pretty
it
good.
being used that way.
No! Oh, it blew up. Well, what are your final thoughts here? You know, we're about to finish up this strike here. I want to get your last words of wisdom for the world to hear. You know, as a freshman in high school, a freshman in college, you know, what do you want from video games? What do you want everybody to hear? Oh my God.
I think that we should give video games the potential that they deserve.
Okay.
Since like everyone thinks video games are just something that
Yeah,
just
give it a chance.
Give it a chance.
Give it a chance.
Like
with all things, we gotta give everything a chance sooner or later. They give that like.
No.
No!
We're square. We're square.
Just give it a chance. That's all. You never know, cause like you
Did
can
we
just take that big leap of faith. And then...
Well, learning is all about opening up your mind. So if you don't, like, you should open up your mind and accept the possibilities that video games could bring to a learning environment. As cheesy as that may be, you know, I'm a cheese ball, but whatever.
Yeah. We got more time to talk about it. We just lost at the very end.
Wow, okay.
You kidding me? Oh my gosh, so the first time I played it was, I was like, man, we were so close, and then I hear Jarrett DeWild just go, oh no, and I go, uh-oh, and he goes, oh no, it's not good. Alright, well let me find a few more.
Carrying trial, Blue Cyrus.
Oh man, alright, so here's a few other questions for you. What will video games be like in 20 years from now? I know, right?
I'm expecting the VR to be a lot more realistic.
So there'll be VR in 20 years, right? No!
Oh, definitely. I'm expecting, like, not just VR, but, like, a complete, like, other reality. Like, I'm expecting, like, kind of, like, chambers where you, like, step inside of.
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Okay.
Like if you walk
yeah.
if you walk to the front, it's like there's like treadmills or something that simulates movement, you know?
Okay.
Or like maybe there's like this machine will have like bursts of air that will like simulate the feeling of like a bug biting you in a video game or something like that.
Okay.
We've only touched the surface with VR. Like we're only just messing with like the kinesthetic and the visual part of it, like the movement
Okay.
and seeing things.
No.
But there's let's not forget there's 5 senses, right?
Yeah.
And so it's only covering sight and hearing.
I've seen the
and there's
smell
no
attachment so
there's
far.
no-
That's the latest thing I've seen. It's to
There's
a few
smell
other
that.
things.
But
Yes.
if there is smell, that's cool. But we're still missing smell and taste. And
Yeah.
that's in order to have like a
It's
full
switching guns.
virtual reality experience. I think those need to be
Perfect.
included. And like
Mando.
and sense, like touch, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Mando, we're live streaming. We're doing a special here on Destiny 2 beta and video games and learning, talking about freshman perspectives on video games and their future. So you're being recorded, buddy.
No.
We're doing pretty good though. It's been a pretty good video. Thanks for joining with us.
It's fun.
Man, I died pretty quick. So we're asking in 20 years from now, what will video games be like?
I feel like this is all just like a stepping ground, like how Northern said, like we barely touched the surface of virtual reality and augmented reality.
Well, yeah, we have, because like when you think about it, like virtual reality, because right now we can stand still and just move our head around. So I don't know.
Yeah, like what happens in
Find
20
bigger
years, like
space.
Northern said, like you go into like our own space and like
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
totally
You can actually
just,
move
like,
around
legit
and everything.
in like the world, like you're not, and like you come back to this world, you're like, oh, I
But
feel
you
like I
know-
was just in like a totally different.
I know it's
Right.
coming. It's coming for sure. There's no
It's
way.
definitely coming.
Now,
That is definitely.
I'll tell you, back in the day when a lot of people were reading a lot more books, they would say the same thing about books. Like, books take you to this whole new world. Like, you gotta read this book, man. It's really good. You know, and now it's like, what book? Like, I can't even imagine what it's like when I read a book. I think educators are worried about the lack of that, and I think video games challenge that a lot, right? Because it's so immersive, it's so easy to understand without having to textually read, because human beings were never born to read. We know that. My students know that. It's a science fact. We have evolved to build, speak, to notice symbols, to know that a paw print in the snow means danger, it's predators, and that built into this. Like, we're playing Destiny 2 right now. I know the guy in front of me is an alien. Why? Because he's shooting at me and he's metallic blue and he looks like a Decepticon. Like, that's a learned thing. I don't know why I know that, That's symbolic representation right there. So, like, I think video games are really changing it.
Symbolic.
Well, I think video games and books also are very different things. Because with a book, you're forced to use your own knowledge of the world to fill in the blanks. Whereas a video game, it's already a pre-designed place where you can explore and learn. And so, it's fair to say, like, that, books were, like, sort of like their own world at a certain time, but I think now they're just completely two different types of games.
Interesting. So
And
they
I think
both
it'd be
run
very
off
hard
of
to-
a story.
I think it's true, they both have narratives, but I think it'd be very hard to actually, compare a book to a game. They're just so different in my opinion. I'm still reading books even now, I don't know, I like to read books.
So what makes Northern? That's perfect. What makes them different? Is it the interactivity? Is it the non-linear path you can take, whereas a book makes you read that one word, or is it like a choose-your-own ending is kind of an evolved form that turned into a game? Like what? I know Until Dawn is the ultimate choose-your-own ending, but even that's not like what I'm saying,
It depends on the game. It depends on the experience you want.
We did it!
That's what I just said.
Ditto. Ditto. There we go. Thanks for the good stuff here, folks. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. You guys are dancing
Dude,
really
me and
fly
Jared's
over
on
there.
sync right now.
Dude,
Like,
you guys
we're
look
on
good.
sync right now. We're literally on sync. This is the coolest thing.
Hope you enjoyed
And
this
then-
Destiny 2 beta live stream with my students and a couple guest speakers. It's been great. I'll catch you next time with some more learning and classroom information with video games. Peace.
Bye.